Well, Gary, we've got to start with the Byron Webster goal and then the goal you allowed Birmingham to score. First of all, Byron's goal. How did you see that? And obviously, Birmingham were very unhappy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I apologise to Lee Clark at the end of the game, or in between really, the 2 half times of extra time, because on reflection it was ungentlemanly. However, we just get a little bit fed up with teams kicking it out for their own players in the last minute here, when we're trying to get a goal back, and we'd already spent 4 minutes getting 4 different balls on, and we obviously didn't expect. I wanted us to play on rather than to throw it back to them, but I certainly didn't expect the Birmingham side just to stand still, and then I didn't expect Byron Webster to hook a goal in from about 40 yards sort of thing. But and then you get 20 odd people in your face, and I'm disappointed anyway that referees ain't allowed to give decisions like that anyway. I'll stop them and just go take it again sort of thing. And then time went on, and all of a sudden there's nothing you can do about it. Anyway, I spoke to Lee Clark, and he understood, and we decided to give that goal back. Now, I think people should look at it anyway, because if it's a head injury, he goes off, but he didn't go off, so it's no problem. And then in the last minute of the game, how many teams are going to kick the ball out for their own players now? And it does happen all the time, and it's happened to us the last 3 games. It happened to us many times. So, it was a little thing that I had this gremlin in my head about it, and I said play on. And as I said, I didn't expect the sequence of events, and then events took over. So I apologise for, to the Birmingham fans as well, to the fans, to the supporters. I apologise to the staff and the Birmingham players, because they were disappointed. But listen, it's happening at the moment too often, and people are using it as a tactic. I'm not saying Birmingham did, but people are using it as a tactic, and maybe needed to be highlighted.
There will be questions over when the goal was given back. Was there any thoughts to immediately give it back? We saw some of your players standing off, and then it was only in the second period of extra time and not the first. So.
Yeah, there was thoughts, but it was all a bit hectic, wasn't it? There was a lot of people giving their opinions, and with all due respect to Lee, he was very calm about it, which was good, and it gave me a little bit of time to reflect on it and decide that was what we were going to do. So it doesn't look very nice, and our supporters were enjoying our form. That was the best we played for a little while, and certainly in extra time, first start of extra time, I thought we were playing well. So I suppose at the end of the day, it's happened. Can't turn the clock back. All we can do is learn from it. Unfortunately, it's happened to me a couple of times, 2 or 3 times. Why me? But anyway, it happened, and all I can do is come in here and be humble and apologise to my opposing manager. But
I suppose it's what changed from the start of the first period of extra time. Obviously, Luke Slynn scored, and then you. Yeah,
you get time to think about it. You know what I mean? You get time to think about it. I still think that the rule needs to be looked at. I think the referee's got to decide whether you throw it back or not. Not you deciding. Otherwise, you're going to have teams kicking it out of play all the time for their players late on. And it does happen. It is a tactic, as I keep saying. So, but that's a circumstance, and I had to think about that. I had to think about the club. I had to think about Birmingham. I've got nothing against them. I like Lee Clark. I've got some players I work with that are at Birmingham, and I like them. So it was. Anyway, I had to, be a bit humble, and we had to make that decision, mate. Now, I was on a loser, whatever decision I made once we started extra time, but we made it.
So it was a case of you gathering all your players together and saying to them that you all have. Because to get professional footballers to stand off like that in the heat of battle can be a difficult thing to do.
No, it's a difficult thing to do. But they me, Terry, Darren, and Lee Clark, discussed it quickly, and that's what we decided to do. And then the players have to adhere to it, because and then we'll worry about it after. But actually, in my mind, I'm just so pleased that the boys have found their championship legs today, and championship mentality. So, it was from our point of view, it was a game where they looked okay at championship level.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the controversy. Ed Upson and Luke Ayling. I mean, Webster's finish was fantastic, but obviously with what led up to it. But Luke Ayling and Ed Upson have scored 2 great goals.
Yeah, they did. They were 2 fantastic goals, and you know, I'd had a bit of a go at Luke for missing the header that he headed down and over the bar, but he certainly made up for it with a fantastic strike. And it's a shame that his strike's not the thing that we're all going to be talking about. And Ed's free kick, of course, which, you know, he's been practicing the last few weeks. So and he's good at that. So 2 great goals, but unfortunately the headline's going to be something different.
But you're pleased with the overall performance, vastly better than Saturday, and something you can work on now ahead of the Reading game?
Yeah, you know, the boys, both sets of boys don't enjoy playing extra time. You could see a few of them were getting a little bit leggy on both teams. So that's what happens in extra time, and then obviously the penalties are a bit of a lottery, and they was obviously happy to take the game. And you know, but we were happy with the way we played, and we needed a performance like that to get us going.
Pre-match, all the talk was of Paddy Madden, rested tonight. How likely is he to be involved on Saturday for the Reading game?
Very likely. You know, he's. You know, you could see. I rested 3 or 4, and he's still part of the squad, as is some of the others that were left out today. But you know, I went with a bit of a freshness, and I thought that worked out well for us. And you know, you make your decisions, and that's what you have to do.
Of course, Byron Webster as a centre forward, we haven't seen that before, but he was effective up there.
Yeah, he was. You know, like you could see when suddenly, you know, I thought Kiefer did well as well. I thought he worked very hard for his debut at this level. You know, Danny Burns not the easiest, nor the other lad Bartley to play up against, because they're very clever. They've had a lot more league games than he has. He's had 1. They've had a lot more than that. And I thought he hung on in there. He got battered to death, of course, but played his part, as did Byron when he went up there, and that made for a good game.
Thanks, Gary.
No problem.
Gary, did the Plymouth game ever enter your mind what happened with Plymouth years ago when you thought about it?
It did, I think it did.
A lot of sporting. You got a lot.
I think it did afterwards. It did, and even in the Plymouth game, I remember having to make a quick decision. But that one was a genuine mistake.
It was. Yeah.
That was a genuine mistake. So that was an easy one, because we didn't mean to score. We meant to kick it back to the goalie. On this one, it was me not wanting to throw the ball back in this situation.
Yeah.
Because I felt that they were kicking it out for their own player that, in my opinion, wasn't injured. And so we played on, but I wasn't expecting none of the Birmingham lads to move. And as I say, I wasn't expecting Byron to suddenly hook it over his shoulder into the goal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then when you got, you know, 20 odd people's in your face, then it's very difficult to be rational.
Yeah.
But it took me a bit of time to be rational, and then when I was, I spoke to Lee as well, and he knew the situation. So I'm pleased that hopefully me and him ain't fell out.
Yeah. And now, are you pleased you made that decision to give the goal?
Yeah.
I know you've lost.
No. I'm absolutely 100% pleased I made that decision.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I don't want it sort of looking like, you know, we've helped them sort of get back in it or anything. It was just something that I decided. We don't want to make enemies of Birmingham, you know what I mean? So it was important that we did the right thing, and at that time when we did it, I felt it was the right thing to do. Now we'll have to wait and see whether people perceive it that way or not. But I think, you know, I know this football club, and I know my directors would have rather me done that than carried on.
Did it ever cross your mind not to do it?
Well, we were discussing it, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to enjoy our extra time and the end of the second half when I thought we were playing well, because those thoughts are in your head all the time. What are we going to do? You know, we're in this, and we don't want this hole to get deeper. So let's make a decision. And I discussed it with everybody, and we was all unanimous really that we're going to have to let them score a goal. I know. Sorry about that.
So amazing you never see it in your career possibly. Now we've seen it twice now. There.
Seen it twice, and you know, it's unbelievable, and it's until anybody's in that situation, you probably won't realise. But they were different in as much as that one was a mistake and one was a play on because we felt that we'd already wasted so much time with 3 or 4 balls coming on, people going down injured late on, which professional teams do. They're clever at that. But then with a minute to go, I was just a bit disappointed that somebody's gone down injured and they've kicked it out and we've got to throw the ball back to them. But as you can see by the events, things didn't quite work out as what I thought it would work out in the end. But it did in the end. So you know, at least I'll go home. I might have lost a few friends, but you know, we made that decision that we made.
Thank you.